technology is hard. So, hello, I'm Martin Pitt from Canonical Desktop team. I'm afraid... I'm afraid after Sebastian's great demo of the Shiny KDE 4.3, I have a less stellar thing to talk about. But yeah, so one of my pet projects during the last couple of years has been this great generator of bug spam called Apport. And I would like to give you a current overview about the current state, how you can integrate it into your packages, and also what cool new stuff we are going to do in Karming. Next slide. Right, so whenever something goes boom in your machine, you probably have stumbled across this one. So who has never seen that one? Great, okay. So you know what I'm talking about. So this is Apport. So this was originally born as a program to automatically intercept crashes when they happen and collect all sorts of useful information about them so that we actually have something to handle when the user fouls them. And next slide. A little more recently, we also started the same principle for bug reports. So basically, Apport is a system to locally collect as much information as possible for us to avoid lots of bug ping pong with reporters and get really high quality bug reports. So, okay, just magic. Right, so basically what Ubuntu bug does is provides us a simple command line interface, which, well, everyone can use, especially on a server, or when people ask to in bug reports. And it is also nicely tightly integrated into GNOME. So whenever you select foul a bug in the help menu in GNOME, this is what you will get as well. So Apport collects a lot of standard information which is useful. For example, the distribution name, the distribution version, the architecture. If you file it against a package, you get the package name. It checks whether you have modified files. You get the dependencies of dependencies. And if you have a program crash, you get a core dump, stack traces, environment. So basically everything that helps us to track down a problem. So while this is great, this is essential data, but it's often not sufficient. So what you can do to make your own progress better and generate better bug reports is to create a so-called hook, which means you can drop a very easy Python file in the directory by your package, and then specify in a Pythonic way to collect additional information. For example, if your package generates a log file, you could tell Hook to do this. So there's a very simple entry point for that. It's just the one function called add_info, and you get this report object. By and large, you can treat this as a standard dictionary. So you just keep adding keys to this, and whatever you set as a value will appear in the bug reports, right, for you to handle. There are some keys which are a bit special. I'm not sure whether you can see this here. So for example, you can determine in your bug, in your hook, whether you want to attach additional tags to your bug reports, so that it's easier for you to automatically, so that it's easier for you to see, to sort your bugs into different categories. Right, next slide, please. Right, so while this already provides you the full power of Python, and you can do pretty much anything, then a while later we'll realize that lots of package hooks duplicate the same functionality. So Apport now has this new library called hook utils, which provides you basically two different things. First, a set of convenience functions, like you attach a file if it exists, which is much more robust than the version that we saw before. If the file doesn't exist, you would get an exception. And for example, functions which grab the output of a command and attach this as a whole to the bug report, and you also get a sensible behavior if the command fails or doesn't exist. So that also helps with debugging, of course. And the other big chunk of it is very abstract, high-level functionalities to get certain classes of information. For example, we have attach hardware, and with a single function call, without any parameters, you get stuff like the LSPCI output, the UDEF database dump, DMI information, message. There's more to it. And for the sound geeks among us, attach alsa is a great function which tells you about the detected devices, their configuration, the mixer levels, the codecs. And there's other stuff. change decon files, configuration files and packages, network functions, and so on. So just explore them on yourself. But it's nice to know that this exists, so please don't reinvent it from scratch. Right, next slide please. So, what's going on in calming? One big problem that we often see is that you want to interact with your user while you file the bug. Just to avoid doing this kind of bug ping pong in the bug report after you filed it and the reporter potentially ran away. So what you will be able to do in calming is to add functions to your report hooks which ask the user to do certain things. For example, you could require the user to attach a file that reproduces the problem, like in open office writer, for example. Or something that affects myself is you set up some programs for a debugging mode, and you ask the user to plug in the device that causes trouble. Then you collect the information, and then afterwards you reset the system and file the bug. So that should help a lot of to convert all the debugging recipes that we have in the wiki into real code. So which makes it easier for both the bug triaging teams and also, of course, for the reporter to get more useful data out of it. And you'll also have some other options like choices. So, for example, you could ask like which phenomenon you see and does it go away if you do this and so on. Next slide. Yes. And the other thing we are going to do is symptom-based bug reporting. For example, if your sound is broken in your machine or in my machine, I mean, I'm a seasoned developer and I don't instantly know what's going on. If it's a bug in the kernel or an ALSA or pulse audio, and we cannot really expect this from users. So what we really want is the user to say I have a sound problem and then write some Pythonic code which goes through this small decision tree to figure out what the heck is really going on. So the hook could check whether the Linux detected sound devices in the first place, and then check the symptom, the mixer levels, and then ask the user some more questions, and then come to an intelligent decision which package to file the bug against. And the other nice thing that this gives us will be that it will make it possible to run Ubuntu bug without any argument at all, which means this opens up the possibility to finally expose this into a general help report a problem menu item. Before that, we didn't really have lots of success to this because people were complaining that their girlfriend didn't love them anymore, which is a problem, but it's not something we can do about it. Right, so this opens up the possibility to call it without any arguments. You could present a list of symptoms that the port knows about, and again generate better bug reports. Right, yeah, that's basically it. Do you have any questions or suggestions?
Is there any feedback mechanism to feedback current, often reported, frequently reported bugs into that and point users to something?
So the question was if this allows you to add a feedback to the user about commonly reported bug reports. So I didn't think about this problem in the context of symptom-based bug reporting yet, but in fact we have had such a system for a long time. It's called a bug pattern. So if you have bugs which get reported over and over again, you can define a bug pattern and then the user is basically disallowed to file this in the first place. But of course, I mean, it's Python, so right, so we could certainly discuss how to integrate this more tightly. I think the bigger benefit will be that using that we can generate more standardized bug reports with standardized titles and tags, so it's much easier to automatically or manually duplicate those bugs. Okay, more questions? Right, so Kathy's question was how much interactivity would that need and how much can this figure out by itself? Well, of course, that's a question of implementation, so I will first work on the infrastructure. But I suppose that like a lot of the debugging recipes that we have for sound because we run it on the local machine, which is effective, we can figure out most of this automatically. So I don't actually intend these reports to ask the user, well, what are your mixer levels? Because we can determine that and decide, yeah, there's one mixer level at 0, so it could be that. So the hook will ask you, please crank up that mixer level and see whether it fixes it. But so I hope that we can automate most of that. But I guess there will always be questions which we do have to ask the user.
Is there anything we can do to improve, like once the bug goes to Launchpad, often the title of the bug is just the actual crash rate. And most users, despite the key that they're kind of asked, is this duplicate of these other bugs, etc. I was wondering if there's anything we can do to improve that.
So his question was whether there is any plan to improve the standard bug titles that we have for crashes in particular, I think.
Well,
and yeah, so actually, personally, I regard this as a feature because if we have a standard bug title, this is both useful for developers, and also if you follow a bug as a user, you get the potential duplicates listed in Launchpad. So if it has the identical bug title, I suppose it has a higher chance of actively being recognized as a duplicate. And then, of course, we have the automatic duplication running in the data center, which traverse all the newly filed crash reports and automatically duplicate them. So, in fact, I do like standard bug titles, and I hope we can get more of them in Ubuntu bugs. So I'm not sure whether this was what the suggestion was.
Great idea. I'm just wondering whether the user needs to be exposed to those, or whether it can just automatically be submitted in that.
Okay. So the suggestion was that we don't actually expose the user to the standard bug title. Yeah, I guess this is currently sort of a limitation of what we have in Launchpad, so I can't currently tell Launchpad to suppress it, but I do like the idea, yeah. Okay. So the question was, so often we have bug reports that say zigzag me in main, and it doesn't really tell the user a lot. So, and yeah, I do think it would make sense to integrate this kind of information here so that we set a more sensible bug title. But of course, then you really get into the area of weak heuristics. So I'm not sure whether we can do anything to aid the user into finding a good bug title. So if you have some ideas, please do talk to me. So, yeah, so asking what were you doing. Yeah, this is basically description, right? So if there's just a sentence, we could probably start with the bug title. But so if you have bright ideas, please come and talk to me. Yeah, next up.
Is there an intention that this would be something that upstreams would really want to get in on and have us track their most current versions of development in Karmic and then sort of feedback the crash reports to them, rather than have to kind of go through Launchpad?
Right, so Scott's asking whether there might be upstreams who are interested in getting the information directly rather than through Launchpad. So I don't think there's an easy answer to that. So there are currently people who are creating a Bugzilla backend for Apport, so by the Pardos guys. I'm not sure what the OpenSUSE guys do with their Apport crashes, so I didn't see a Bugzilla backend from them. But certainly if an upstream approaches us, then we could certainly set something up, because especially crash reports are totally automatic. So, but nobody approached me about that yet. Did you still have time?
Yeah.
Okay, more questions?
Do you think it would be useful to have like a dry run so that I can debug a system and have all the information collected by Apport in a convenient location?
Can you speak up, please?
Dry run. Do you think it would be useful to have like a dry run option so that I could use Ubuntu debug and have all the information collected in one convenient location?
Oh, so he's asking whether we could have a dry run mode where the port Ubuntu would collect the information but store it locally. Yeah, this is sort of 80% implemented. If you use Ubuntu CLI, it will already allow you to do that. It's currently not yet done in Ubuntu GK, but I'm happy to add that. So right now you can, in GK or KDE interfaces, you can open the expander to see what information is collected, but you cannot currently store it on disk. But yeah, that's trivial to add, so I'm happy to do that if that's a concern.
It's useful.
Okay. Other bug. Ubuntu bug Apport. So his question was whether this is heavily tied to the Launchpad API, and in fact it's not. So both